Hello everyone, before I get started, I do have some warnings to say, but happy Halloween. But anyways, here are the warnings. Drug use, mention of SA, blood, murder, gore, and I don't know the short word for this, but basically watching while someone is dressing. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this. Mwah! You liked the outdoors. You wouldn't say you loved it, but you're okay with it. You really only liked the mornings when the sun was still rising and not as high in the sky anymore, and you could hear birds singing as they woke up. Though taking care of kids wasn't on your list. You held the little boy by the hand as four others ran ahead. Guys, the water isn't going anywhere. You five? You spoke as the boy tried to pull you along to make sure he was steadied with his friends. Yeah, but it's way better in the morning than the afternoon, one chuckled as they looked back. You only sighed. You really weren't going to swim, but you just had to watch them since, well, something happened. You were told this the day you even started. Yeah, be careful when swimming. Can't put my finger on it, but a boy drowned in the lake. When we got his body, however, his legs were entangled with seaweed and other stuff. Your boss had spoken with a cigarette in his mouth. Wait, you were there? You tilted your head as you continued with the paperwork. Yeah, I was there. The boy looked like he had still been there for a couple of days, but the other counselors didn't even realize he was gone until it was too late. He threw his cigarette to the floor and stomped on it. Those darn kids caused me one heck of a lot of money from me. He spat as he looked out to the lake. Also, be careful. Some of my counselors report some concerning things happening about the lake. You hummed as you finished. If you stay too long near the lake, your mind will play tricks on you. Might make you go crazy. Oh, and I read something about it, so don't worry about it. He looked over the paperwork. Well, man, I haven't seen someone with as much medical and kid work. He sighed. Yeah, I took a class for it in my senior credit. Then I worked at a daycare for part-time. You smiled, sticking out your tongue. Why did you do that? Well, you knew the guy, and he was glad to have you on his little team. But now, you sat in a small portion where the water met with the sand, watching as the little kids played with each other as they ran around the water. You smiled as you watched them play, your feet being soaked into the water, but your butt was still dry. Yin! Yelled someone from behind. You looked to see. Oh, great. What is it this time, Senji? He chuckled as he rode the bottom of his nose with his pointer finger. Well, one of my campers is stuck in the girls' restroom. You paused. God. You rubbed your eyes as you stood up, rolling your eyes. You mean you made gross comments towards her? You asked, crossing your arms. Really? How does this guy still have a job here? You thought as you looked back to the kids. You sighed, walking towards the camping table and wrapping a towel around your waist. Fine, I'll go talk with her. Just watch them. And I mean it. You poked at his chest. He only chuckled, his hands on his hips. Don't worry, I got him. He smiled, and the two of you looked at each other for just a bit, and then you sighed, leaving him to look after the kids. Walking down the path, feeling the wind in your hair, it felt unreal, like someone was watching you, but there was no one. You were miles away from any town. God, it just creeped you out. Every time you looked around, there was nothing. No person, not even an animal. They were quiet. You could only hear the leaves and bushes move when you walked. and when you started walking again, you could only hear the dirt under your feet. That is when you made it back to camp. You took a breath in and then out. The feeling was somehow gone. It felt like it had just vanished out of thin air, and it still freaked you out. After you paused, you walked over to the girls' restroom, opening the door and noticing the only stall closed. You sighed and walked over to it, lightly knocking onto the door. "Macy, are you all right?" you asked, waiting for her to speak. You just didn't want to rush her. Surprisingly, this has happened more than once to the poor girl. You could hear Macy's little hiccups. You didn't want to rush her. She just needed time, and that's all that mattered. Then you could hear her shoes hit the tile and open the door. She only peeked her head out just a bit. "He sent you?" She huffed in a tear. "Yes, and once again, I'm not going to force you out of the bathroom." You lightly smiled as you hovered your hand over her shoulder. You weren't one to touch her without some sort of permission after what she's gone through. She only nodded, signaling you to pull her into a hug, and she wrapped her arms around you as you held her close. You stood there for a bit, combing through her hair as you hummed and swayed back and forth. "Okay, now I gotta go to the little ones to look after." You pulled away. "It should be dinner soon, so..." You trailed off, looking away with a most definitely not in the mood smile. "I heard they were serving some real good watermelon with it." And her eyes stared up. "You were one to always pick the fruit." "Why?" "Well, you were damn good at which ones were good or not. They don't know how you did, but you always picked the best ones." So she quickly hugged you yet again and ran out of the bathroom, your smile slightly fading. Now, time to get Senji off the poor girl's back. As you left the bathroom, Koda, another counselor, came running your way, huffing and puffing as he got up to you. "Yin, Amy's got something stuck around her leg." You froze. "And you left her there?" You gasped, running past him. He yelling something, but you couldn't hear him over your panic. Was this some sort of prank towards you again? Wait, and wasn't Senji watching her? Watch the little ones was really not that hard. Really, it wasn't. As you got there, you saw Senji's now nowhere to be seen in sight. "God damn it." You cursed as you ran into the water, diving into the water as she had somehow gotten deep and towards the water, something a child her age wouldn't be able to do on her own. You got to the poor girl trying to pull her back to shore, but there was a problem. Her foot was really caught onto some seaweed. You took a breath and dove in, the murky water playing with your vision, showing true terror, as you could only finally see her leg fully. The same little boy who died years ago grabbed your face. His eyes, they glowed, and you hated it, as if they looked into every inch of your body and mind. But you blinked, shaking your head as you pulled and tear at the seaweed, hearing the rushing sounds of water splashing and rushing of your mind, the muffled screams of the poor girl. Agonizing seconds felt like hours, or even decades. And finally, you broke her free. You swam up and grabbed her, bringing her to the shore. As she coughed up water, her lungs begging for air, the other kids finally coming into your mind as they watched their friend that was now being held by you. After all the water had been out of her lungs, you finally took a breath. Were you holding it in this entire time? Yes, you were. Picking her up and looking over to the others. You just had to change the subject. Anything. Come on. You guys have dinner. I'll take her to get checked out. The kids looked worried but nodded, knowing that you would make sure she felt better. You followed alongside them from behind, holding tightly onto the little girl. Thank you, she rasped out. Don't thank me. You're not at all well rested. You looked down at her as your brows furrowed in concern. Time skip. Everyone had either gone to bed or had been put to bed, or stayed in their cabin. Senji! You spat as you saw him by the campfire with the others, drinking alcohol and laughing. What? He chuckled. You seriously? Not worried about a little girl's life? You could be sued! You spat, everyone looking at the two of you. What? She had to learn to swim somehow. He chuckled, looking down over you. God, you're so childish. You would rather get me in trouble so all you could do was fuck with the lives of kids? You spat, pushing him away. And why do you, like boss, believe you? Senji asked with a smirk. Every kid in this camp. You smiled back. How many do you want me to name? You placed your hand on your hip as you looked at his angry face, then pointing to every one and their crimes. Quinn, you flirt with girls to buy shit online for them just to get scammed. Mara, you... Shut up! She spat as she stood up. Now it was her who stared at you with such fiery rage. Come on, ladies. Koda spoke as he walked over, his hands up in the air. God, fuck. You spat as you backed off. At least I'll take care of them. You turned around, walking towards the cabins. Well, there had really just been two of them, plus the hall. Both of the cabins were split by two walls and a bathroom, the same being said for the counselors. You walked all the way into the dark to the girls' side of the cabin, of the counselors, of course, opening the door to the walk to your room, and sadly, that you shared with Mari. This was going to be one hell of a night. You combed through your hair as you sighed, going over to your dresser and opening it, taking out clothes you would need to, the shower, then finally to bed. Placing the clothes on your bed, turning to walk towards the bathroom, feeling, well, once in the shower and coming out with a towel wrapped around your body. You unwrapped the towel, taking it to your hair to dry it, shaking your head as your hair dampened. God, why do I take this job? You wondered as you thought to yourself. As for the kids, at least, if they didn't have you, all of them would be sure dead. Turning to your bed, you spot something at the corner of your eye, and once you looked towards it, it bolted. You froze. Was someone watching you this whole time? You quickly closed the curtain, not wanting to know if there was someone or not. You stood there frozen. Were you hyperventilating? You could feel your chest rise and fall as you covered your body with a towel. Noticing after a bit, you were still, Changing, you took a breath. Exhausted, you walked back outside. Just need to get some calm, but first... Making your way to the campfire, thinking of all the ways to wreak hell on these stupid, pathetic, little... You finally looked up, your hands coming to your mouth, trying to cover up your scream. Senji had a large. You felt as if you wanted to puke, to scream, to run, but your body was shaking as you looked at his body. The wood sharp pierced his skin, his head lying on the floor, away from his body. It was clean off. Even the bone looked perfect. Until something hit you. Wait, the kids! You turned, taking your hand away from your mouth to take out your phone out of your pocket, running as you made it back. Finally hearing screams, you pushed your body more and more. You made it to the stairs, quickly opening the door and shutting it behind you, locking it. You weren't taking any chances. You could hear your own breathing, the movement of your body as you backed up, pulling out your phone to check the cameras. You needed to see what was going on. What was going on at all? But something was wrong. They were all offline. You stood there, scared. What were you going to do? All you could do was protect these kids, but how? You needed to think quickly, but you needed something to do. Quickly, turning to check on the kids, opening the female door. Amy was awake, holding tightly to her blanket, her body shaking as you sighed. Amy, can you do me a favor? You slowly asked, walking towards her. She nodded. Could you wake up all the girls, please? You asked. As you held her cheek in your hand, she thought for a moment, and then slowly nodded. You looked around, noting that every girl was still there and all right. You just had to make sure the boys were all right. Slowly, you looked over her and away and turned, walking over to the boys, making sure not to wake all of them up. But they still needed to be woken up. Nadia soon walked in, one of the older girls, crossing her arms as the two younger girls followed behind her, some of the boys now being woken up. What is going on? She asked, her brows furrowed. Senji's dead. You looked at the girl, her eyes widened with confusion, fear. She doesn't know what. Then why haven't you called the police? Ryu shouted. Shh. You put your finger over to your mouth. I will. I needed to make sure you guys were all right. Then why did you get Amy to wake us up? You needed to make sure you could handle this. Because all of the other counselors are gone. I don't know where they all are. You stood up. Nadia, Rudy, Katie, Logan. I need you all to stay in the bathroom. I know it will be hard, but please. I need you all to just let me handle this. You sighed, taking out your phone and giving it to them. Call the police. Stay safe, and don't let anyone in that bathroom. Got it? Lock the door. They looked at you, all with different looks in their faces. I will, in everything in my power, to make sure you all get out of here. You gave a hearty smile. It was a reassuring one. You had to, for these kids. The older ones nodded, following orders as you unlocked the front door, before locking it back up. Slowly walking towards and over to your cabin, tears falling as you made it to the stairs, seeing Maya there, dead, her spine on full display. You wanted to puke again, wanted to cry, wanted to scream, opening the door and walking towards the boys' room, opening the closet. Fuck, you whispered, cursing once you saw that the only gun in this damn place was gone. You sighed again as you stood, quickly looking around as you needed something. A tiny little knife is not going to help me here, you thought as you made it towards the kitchen. Going back to the kids' cabin, once there, looking at the knife in your hands. You took it in. You just wished you knew where the damn gun was. You didn't know what to do. Were you going to have to kill someone? No. Please. You couldn't. It was a human's life on your hands. But you had 20 kids to look after. You couldn't just abandon them. You bolted your eyes upwards once you heard a noise in the bush, seeing someone walk out with a large knife, pointing yours once you didn't recognize them. Who the hell are you? You spat. You could tell you were shaking, the point of the knife not staying still. He only continued to walk closer and closer towards you, getting so close that the tip of the knife was pressed towards his chest. You can see the way his face looked, freezing in as you walked. You looked inside, then towards you again. Were you the one at the lake? His voice was growled, harsh, commanding. What? What? You shook. Tell me. He spat, finally the knife piercing his skin, only lightly though, seeing the small amount of blood dripping from the wound. Yes. Why? You gasped, huffing as you looked towards his chest, and then back towards his face, seeing the mask moving, as if he was smiling, his hand coming quickly to your neck, his hand clasping around your neck as you dropped your blade, holding you up in the air. Where are the others, then? He tilted his head. I won't let you touch the kids, you spat, thinking he was now going after them. Then his smile faded, dropping as he looked down. How many counselors? He asked. 8. You quickly spat out, not thinking. He looked towards his hand. Paddle, hook, wire, fire, gun, drowning, glass. He paused, looking at you again. Are you the last? He tilted his head. You didn't know what to say. Yes, was the only word that came from your mouth. Thanks to the point of view you had, you saw him smiling. Only the good lives. He spoke as you finally heard the noise of police sirens. He only watched you for a moment before turning and walking back into the bush, your breathing heavy as you held onto your chest. Ma'am! You heard the door open, your vision curling as your eyes rolled to the back of your head. Time skip. Time had passed since that day, and thanks to the camera footage being recovered, somehow, they knew what had happened. You opted not to know what happened to the rest of your coworkers. You were given hints, so you weren't going to watch. And you were put on protection, they called it. But you don't know why. You were long gone, moved away after that. You took up a job at a garden. It was calming. Even some of the kids stopping to check on you. Yes, they were there too. But seeing 2 bodies and hearing what had happened to the rest, it shocked you. And with those handprints as a reminder of that night, all you knew is that questions played in your mind. Was that the kid your boss had told you about? Why were you the one to live? Was it because you truly cared for the kids or something else more sickening? And was he still out there, looking, waiting for you? Who knows?